you come to me, you speak to me about it personally. Don't go in your book and make this whole big spectacle about it. I would personally feel a type of way. Mind you, I am not Hannah Hampton. I don't know what.
There's going to be some attention on the fact that this is essentially the Mary Earps homecoming. Some background in that PSG knocked them out, in the qualifying phase last time, and you were in Champions League, that's going to be at Old Trafford. So there's like a little bit of heightened, a little bit more, a little bit more pizzazz to this game. What do you maybe anticipate, in the Mary Earps homecoming?
Yeah, this is not, in essence, it is the homecoming. This is the first Women's Champions League match in Old Trafford since that derby draw against Man City. So this is a massive, massive deal. Now, Mary Earps, I'm sure, especially since she's been the internet's punching bag since her book dropped, knows that the spotlight's on her. Her departure from United was noisy. It was very noisy, mostly. I mean, quite frankly, I don't disagree with her in her statements. It was that she needed to move on to something that was more substantial and supported. And during this time when she had left, that was 1,000% accurate and true about United. We're talking about a team who had not managed to get into European football in a serious way. And aside from that, weren't seriously funding their players, their teams. And then on the back of that, they kind of started to back up their talking the whole time and building those training facilities, which they inevitably bumped the women from to give to the men. So a lot of what Mary Earps said was accurate. I just think that it left a little bit of a sore spot for players who had endeared Mary Earps, who world-class goalkeeper, right? Like, we're someone we look up to, Lionesses, Man United, makes her departure, considers that PSG is a better place. Is a little bit funny right now, given their current form, coming back into this, where it says like, hey, maybe PSG, yes, they have the experience in Women's Champions League that Man United lacked and the know-how. However, they're not faring very well. And in contrast to Man United domestically and in Champions League are proving they're worth their medal. So I think for Mary Earps today, and she's not the only player that's played for both teams that'll be featured. I'm sure we'll end up seeing Gronin included off the bench as sort of a sub-story in the midfield. PSG, her former club. And then I don't know, Estelle Cascarino, if in fact she's around. That's another crossover story. But I feel like the pressure mounts irrespective when you're coming up against your former club. But for Mary Earps, I do think that you get this level, at least I know I do, like when you're under pressure and you get this air of like self-consciousness around you, because everyone is focused so on, yeah, she's going to collect booze. But I feel like given her stature and her role in every single goal that she stood, and she's again world class, she's used to the criticism and she's used to the noise and she's used to, I don't want to say abuse because like that's a little bit too far, but the booing and things like that. So I think she'll come into this match knowing like, I need to step up and stand out. I need to put my money where my mouth is today. So I think it'll be a compounding pressure, but the kind of pressure that makes diamonds today.
Yeah, I think you are spot on because when, to be honest, when I saw that matchup happening, I actually completely forgot about that crossover with Mary and United. I think because now everything's been going on with her at PSG, with this book being released and, her comments about Hannah Hampton and, and so on and so forth. I think perhaps maybe and obviously her making such a big spectacle about leaving both England and United in the way that she did. I almost compared to like when LeBron left Cleveland to go to Miami, making, a big decision about it, and I just think with Mary, knowing Mary, I've played with her before and she'll be up for it for sure, 1,000%. I think she thrives on this in a weird way. I think in a way, I think she enjoys the attention that she may get simply because I think that'll probably bring out the best in her. But, I think perhaps people may look at it in a way more so about what's happening off the pitch, about what got released last week with the book. I think in a regard, some people may have lost a little bit of respect for her about what was said, and what came out. It's all fine and dandy to have those opinions. And and trust me, I get it. But to then have it, kind of in your book, then it comes out, I think maybe people will be looking at her with a completely different lens from what was said. But I don't think it's pressure that she'll turn away from. I think if anything, this is where she'll thrive, probably at her best. But you're right. The irony of her leaving United because of the transitions that they were going to, they weren't playing European football, going to a well-renowned club like PSG and having those moments. And, now the irony is now she's there and they're not doing as well as how United is doing, like you said, both domestically and in Europe as well. So I think it'll be a great match. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I think, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on it, but yeah, I think, but I think overall Mary will thrive on this in some capacity.
I don't want to backtrack too far, Satara, but you are someone who's a little bit closer to the Mary Earps situation than, some of the others we've talked to, part of the A3 bench. I'm just curious, and again, this is like a very personal thing, not a broad sweeping thing. Obviously, I want to preface this with that. But given the content of what she had to say, would you feel hurt even if you knew that there was truth to what she said in a we should keep this more veiled situation? Or do you feel like there's some of it that's, hey, this is valid criticism and maybe some of this needs to be let out into the ether as a catalyst for change, but also there'll be some hurt feelings along the way?
I think it's a little bit of both. And if I was, if I played with somebody and then, come to find out they weren't probably the biggest fan of me, but, in my face, we were, keeping it cool, I would feel a bit betrayed to an extent, because to me, if you have a problem with something that I did or didn't do, you come to me, you speak to me about it personally. Don't go into your book and make this whole big spectacle about it. I would personally feel a type of way. Mind you, I am not Hannah Hampton. I don't know what her feelings are towards the whole situation, but I do think perhaps, and I was trying to look at it from Mary's POV, because I think she's giving a reason to justify her reasonings as to why she walked away from England the way in which she did. However, I think there's a right and there's a wrong way to go about it. Perhaps maybe not including it in the book wasn't the best of decisions, but maybe perhaps she felt like she had to get that out to kind of justify as to why she bowed out the way that she did. But if that was me and I'm now reading a book about a former teammate that I played with, I was competing with, enjoying European championships with, and then I come to find out that, I'm this big, problem, I think I would personally feel a type of way about it, honestly.
I think that's fair,
Yeah.
and people are it's one of those human interest topics where people are gonna continue to chat about it, especially in like a high stakes match like this, where there are so many parallels that you can dive into. But I think the key word there is that it's human interest, right? Like everyone at the end of the day, everyone's human. Like Mary Earps is gonna have her feelings and thoughts about a situation that she found herself involved in, as would Hannah Hampton. And who knows, maybe there are players on Man United who are gonna have their own thoughts and feelings about certain situations and scenarios as well. But I mean, she is the goalkeeper, which is also a position in which we're gonna highlight and say how's it gonna look, feel, and come down to. And Manchester United also have a pretty good one in themselves, and Falatella's Joyce. I do wonder if maybe that's what this game comes down to.